Welcome to Shoptalk Cle Cleveland Literacy Efforts. And here today we have our Cleveland's own Dr. Carmen Stewart, but we have this boutique boss on Dr. Lisa McGuthry. Lisa wear a lot of titles, but today we're going to share and we're going to talk about how we combat illiteracy here in the city of Cleveland, what we're working on to combat illiteracy, and then how you guys out there can get involved with us as we continue this fight and what we're doing in the midst of COVID-19. So first, I want to welcome Dr. Carmen to the show. And Dr. Carmen, I just really just want you to share with us some of the efforts that you're trying to take right now in the midst of everything that's going on.
So my primary role in literacy right now is as the Vice President of Programming at Seeds of Literacy. We are a nonprofit literacy program. We provide adult education. Most people know us as the GED program, but we do so much more than GED. 77% of the students who come into our program actually test below high school level. So we spend a lot of our time trying to build those foundational skills that students need to be ready for that. You know, that foundational math, fractions is a thing that most people really struggle with. Building those foundational skills so that they are ready to start focusing on their high school equivalency or GED test. We have, for the last 2 years, really focused on the needs of beginning adult readers. So if a student comes to us and they can't read at all, we'll accept them into our program and give them the skills and the training that they need to do that. Outside of Seeds, I do professional development for adult literacy instructors because there isn't a minimum qualification to work in adult literacy. So to be a preschool teacher, you have to have an associate's. To be a K-12 teacher, you have to have at least a bachelor's. To be at the college level, you need at least a master's or a PhD like Dr. Lisa has.
Yes.
But in adult education, there's nothing that exists. So you have a lot of people who have a good heart and the best of intentions, but not necessarily the knowledge and skills that it needs to get a student from where they are to where they want to be. So, and I'll also say that we have gone to a full virtual program in response to COVID. We went from fully face-to-face to fully virtual in 9 days with a much smaller staff than we're used to operating with. So our hope is just to continue keeping our students on that path to success.
So how have you seen folks still engaging with the program and what you're offering? Even though it's gone virtual?
Yes, we have. So the crazy thing though is that most of the folks that we're getting now are higher level students because they're the ones who have the access to technology. They're the ones who have the comfort level of technology. So the students who I really get excited about serving, the beginning readers, we don't see a lot of them right now because the access is an issue. We've got our president and CEO, Bonnie Entler, was very aggressive in getting funding and getting donations. We were able to loan 50 computers out to our students at no cost. We did some training for them so they could learn how to use them to access our resources. But I think the students that we really want to reach don't even have that access. We help students tap into free Wi-Fi resources in the community. It was challenging, but we've actually seen a lot. We've actually taken in about 230 new students since April.
Wow.
2 of those students have already graduated.
That's amazing.
So there is still a lot. I mean, actually we've gotten a student from Florida, we have a student from California, we have 2 students in New York and 1 from Maryland. So people are looking, the people who are looking and have the ability to access online learning are actually engaging still.
So how do we reach those students that we really want to target? And I think that's where Shawn Literacy and Literacy in the Hood comes in at.
Yeah, so first of all, they're everywhere.
Okay.
I think we tend to look for lower income, and that's actually not the case.
Yes.
You probably have heard me talk about, there's a video on YouTube called The Teacher Who Couldn't Read about this man, John Corcoran, who taught for 17 years,
Wow.
couldn't read or write at all. So there is no type, right?
Okay.
But
Absolutely.
I think the ways to reach those folks are to have those conversations. So the conversations that you have with parents where you're saying to them, you know, you can reach your child, and if you're struggling with reading, here's a resource in the community. That work is so important because I said years ago when I first met you that you are the future of literacy in Cleveland. I meant that from the bottom of my soul because you and I can talk to people and it'll be a different story. And her story being that being that aggressive mother who learned
Yes.
how to advocate for her child, that's the story that people will listen to. You'll be the person that people don't trust institutions, they trust people. And you connect to people so fast and so easily that they're just like, they want to be around you. So you are how we reach the folks who technology, doesn't allow us to have access to right now.
And it's funny you say that because HOOD stands for helping out our disenfranchised.
Mm-hmm.
And my heart, I start beating on my heart, but my heart went out as you said, how do we reach those people? And when I came up with the name Literacy in the Hood, believe it or not, people didn't even really want me to use HOOD. And then HOOD stands for helping out our disenfranchised. And that's that population that I'm trying to reach. A lot of times I've sit on some boards throughout Cleveland, anything that got anything to do with literacy, and it all comes down to one thing: what's your zip code? And it's just so weird when it comes down, Dr. Carmen, to what's your zip code, because let me give you an example. 44120. 44120 is a zip code that wraps around the railroad track, okay? And it is a very affluent zip code. However, it has a Cleveland side to it. And just say if I'm somewhere and I see that zip code and I pick up the flight and I read it and I call the number and I'm excited. And then as soon as I tell them, they say, get to the part and say, what's your address? And I start with East 100. I could almost hear the lady sound on the phone. It wasn't applicable to that side. But because that same zip code fulfills that whole entire population, we got a population here that pays a different tax bracket. Okay, and when they wrap around the railroad track, that's another tax bracket. So the ones that fall in that tax bracket, I say Cleveland has pockets. And you can tell where the pockets got the holes in because the resources is falling out. And you can tell where the pockets is full because the resources are plenty. Like Old Brooklyn, everybody that live in Old Brooklyn got free Wi-Fi. That just needs to be your zip code. You just need to live there. So if it's that applicable in that pocket, why we can't bring that over here where we really need it at, in 44105, And then another question, not to ask it hypothetically, but with the same thing, why does my zip code matter what kind of grocery store I go to? What type of health care I have access to? What type of resources are available in my son's community for education? We're going to dive a little bit deeper into this as soon as we come back from break. So stay tuned. Cleveland Literacy Efforts, Dr. Carmen Stewart, Dr. Lisa McGuthry, and hey, Shawn Literacy, stay tuned. Welcome to Shoptalk Cle, Cleveland Literacy Efforts. I'm Shawn Literacy, and today here in the studio with us, we have Dr. Carmen Stewart and our own Lisa McGuthry. We're talking about how we're combating illiteracy here in Cleveland, talking about what we're doing to combat it. We're talking about not only what we're doing, but how you can get involved. And one of the ways that you can get involved is stopping by the boutique, making a donation in monetary donation, a donation in books, or a donation in book supplies. We're always looking for volunteers to help us out at various events as well. So you can reach out to Our Favorite Things Boutique, or you can reach out at literacyinthehood.com. So, Dr. Carmen, while we come back from break, I really just wanted you to just take just a few minutes and just share with us some of the experiences in adult literacy, or some of the parents' lives that you touched, or just some of the stories in general that you know are heartfelt, or when you went home and had your cup of coffee, it just stayed with you like gold. So share some of those stories with us, Dr. Carmen. Welcome back.
There are tons of those because our students are incredible people. So I have one student who came to us. She actually has a high school diploma. Her son was entering kindergarten, and she just knew that she wasn't able to help her son with his schoolwork because she was struggling with reading herself. And she came in, we did a reading assessment to figure out what exactly she was struggling with, and then started providing an intervention based on that assessment. And now she is reading. She actually is, able to help her son and is a little bit ahead of him so that she can help him in future years as well. We have a gentleman who came in, he's in his 60s, and he just wanted to be able to read his Bible for himself. And when he came in, he was so, a little bit timid and just feeling, a lot of times people feel embarrassed because they haven't learned. And we always let them know that if you make it to whatever age you are and you're not learning, you're not reading at the level that you want, it's because some adults earlier in your life didn't intervene when you needed them to.
Absolutely.
But he got to the point where he was reading. One day he came in and he said, "Hey sis, let me show you something." And he read the entire introduction to the book of Genesis. I mean, it's just crazy. He participates in the book club that we have every week. This year they read Michelle Obama's Becoming. He participated in that. He's not, he's confident enough to read out loud. He, in the beginning he would get to punctuation and not know what to do with it. Now that's not even a problem. Another student that I have met recently called our program, and at the time he called and he wanted to come to orientation, and I told him, he called on Monday, we do orientation every Monday, and I told him he'd have to wait until the next week because we just finished orientation. And he had an entire meltdown. Wow. And was saying, I'm suicidal and everybody keeps telling me to wait till next week. And I actually was, we actually will do special orientations for folks who can't come on Mondays, but I needed to at least get to figure out what he needed. And he just had a little tirade. And what it came down to is he cannot read and write. And he's living with parents who are in their 80s. And he's about 26, 27. And he's really worried about what will happen to his what will happen to him if his parents were to die, particularly with COVID right now. And so he came in, I told him to just come to the site the next day. So he came in 2 hours early because he was ready. He came in 2 hours early and we sat down for an hour and just kind of looked at where his skills were. He could actually read quite a few sight words. He had a lot of words in his visual memory, but he didn't know how to decode. So we worked on that. So we worked together 5 times now for an hour each. And yesterday he was reading 3-syllable words, 9 letters, able to sound them out. He read a 3-paragraph story to tell me what most of the story was about. We worked a lot on vocabulary, and the thing that makes his story really touch my heart is that he's been wanting this for a long time. He actually has a high school diploma, and for the last 6 years he's been going to another literacy program. And he looked at me yesterday and he said, I went to this other program for 6 years. Why couldn't they help me? And what's true is that, like I said before, there just isn't the requirement there is no degree that you need to become an adult literacy educator. So you have a lot of folks with good intentions, but not necessarily the right skills to help the lower students.
And it's so essential because even though I haven't utilized, I'm a K-8 teacher.
Okay.
That's my first degree. Mm-hmm. And I went back just recently, maybe 3 years ago, and got my certification in reading. Yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because that was so important to me. Yeah. Because I saw so many people that would come in to do job applications, and they couldn't complete the job application. Yeah. So I knew that there was some type of gap. Okay, what are they missing? Mm-hmm. And how can I be of help to help them get that gap? Not necessarily that I was actively teaching, because I teach courses online for colleges, but I'm talking about right here in the community. How can I be effective to help them?
So, you hear what Lisa's working on. Lisa here has pods so children can have a safe space. So if a child doesn't have somewhere to go during school time, call here to the boutique. We're doing 2-hour increments. The children can come here. Not only can they come here, but they'll have help. So they're not just sitting here, but they can have help. Mm-hmm. And then they can have free books, they can have free snacks. And then we're also making sure they have access to free school supplies as well. Dr. Carmen, you can reach out to Seeds of Literacy. Seeds of Literacy is for adults. Maybe you just want to become a stronger reader. Maybe you want to become on a path of becoming a lifelong reader as a family. Maybe you don't understand how that can happen because you may only read at a certain level because someone told you that. So there's so many different avenues. And then again, to tie back into literacy in the hood, always making sure that parents, children, and caregivers have access to free books. You have free books here at the boutique. We have free books at JB Grills, Lunch and Literacy on 60 5th and Harvard. You can always reach out to us at literacyinthehood.com. So just to recap today, if you're a parent, if you're an adult, if you need help with reading, you can reach out to Seeds of Literacy. If you're a child and you can want some assistance and you don't know what to do with this virtual learning, no one's virtual teaching, if you're a grandparent and you're struggling with trying to figure out with your grandchildren what this virtual learning looks like, remember you can always reach out to Our Favorite Things Boutique. You can reach out to us at Literacy in the Hood, but I'm going to let them each share how you can contact each of them.
You can reach Our Favorite Things Boutique. We're located at 12730 Larchmere Boulevard, and the phone number is 1-800-975-0731 or info@ourfavoritethings.com. And you can always reach us 24 hours a day. The phone number is directly linked. If we're not in the store, it's directly linked to my personal cell phone. So you will get a response. And Shawn, I'm looking because you're tearing up. And this is just so, it pulls on my heartstrings. And that's why I wanted to support you. When you had books just being delivered here and we didn't really know each other that way, we'd be like, just go to Our Favorite Things Boutique and drop the books off. It didn't matter because I saw how passionate you were about educating children in our community.
Well, you know, it's not enough for me to just pass out books or stay at home with Derek and say we closed now for COVID. Really, parents, if you need books, if you're at home, if you're struggling with reading, if you're struggling with trying to teach your child virtually, reach out to literacyinthehood.com. Call Our Favorite Things Boutique. Yes. And how can they get in touch with you, Dr. Carmen?
So if they're interested in taking classes, they can call our number, 216-661-7950. We have 2 locations that we're working on trying to reopen. Our east side is East 139th and Kinsman. Our west side is West 25th and Clark. Or you can also reach us up at our website, which is www.seedsofliteracy.org.
Thank you for tuning in today. This episode of Shoptalk Cle Cleveland Literacy Efforts. I'm Shawn Literacy. Our special guest today, Dr. Carmen Stewart, and Cleveland's own boutique boss, Lisa McGuthry. Thank you guys. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.